It's been a while since we've been to China, but we always knew it to be a place of intricate history and majestic beauty. In the wet chill of the early winter, we found ourselves in Chongqing, the mist capital, a sprawling municipality across which flowed the great Yangtze itself. What experiences await us here? Join us and find out. Right, good morning. It is a very foggy and wet day here in Chongqing, China. We just arrived last night and then we spent the night in the hotel here. And now it is morning and we're ready to go and do some sightseeing for the day. Something we immediately appreciated was the noticeably improved quality of the hotel breakfasts since last we visited. Chongqing面 Not bad.
It's okay.
As we set off on a long ride to the western district of Dazu, the landscape that our bus traversed was shrouded in white. Chongqing experiences over 100 days of fog every year, and so this sight would become quite familiar to us over the coming days. Okay, it's only been about 2 hours since we had breakfast, but because it's pretty close to lunchtime now, they're letting us have some lunch first before we go and explore the Dazu stone carvings. So this rather interesting looking place is where we are having lunch. So we get these earphones so that we can listen to the explanation as we're checking out the area. Okay, so apparently the carvings that we're going to be seeing here is just one section of all of the carvings in this area, and apparently one of the more representative portions of it. The earliest carvings apparently date back to about 650, the early Tang dynasty, so really historic area. As we walked into the grounds, a cold drizzle fell around us, wetting the leaves, the rocks, and the pavement. And before long, the first carvings loomed over us. More imposing in presence than I had imagined. While the earliest carvings date from the early Tang, this particular stretch, known as Baodingshan, was carved in the 12th century, the 70-year project of a dedicated Song dynasty monk, depicting a plethora of evocative religious scenes. Honestly, it's all been kind of cooler than I expected. I think the very misty weather is adding a lot of mystique here, so there's also a lot of greenery going on around, and that's always something that I like. House in the little building here was a rather remarkable sight. A golden sculpture of the thousand-handed goddess of mercy, actually carved with more than 1,000 hands. And beyond, another stately row of deific carvings, their faces fixed in tranquil contemplation through the gentle mist. So this is apparently intended to be a tiger, but apparently because the people back then have not actually seen tigers before, so they've based it off a panda instead. So it's got some resemblance to a panda. Inside the darkened chamber, a lone stone Buddha knelt before an audience of deity, lit by the gentle sunlight from a small opening behind. In the end, I think it was just all very atmospheric. You know, being in the forest by these mountains and looking at the carvings in this misty weather. Pretty nice. So the guide earlier mentioned that they haven't figured out how best to protect these sculptures. For example, they were afraid that if they built a shelter over it, it might apply pressure on the rocks and everything might just come falling down. So for the time being, all the sculptures are just kind of left out in the open and subject to erosion and all that. We actually saw one or two sculptures where the face has kind of eroded off. As we admired some nearby temple buildings, there came the solemn sound of gongs, and a religious procession of sorts came into view. We watched them for a few moments, then started following them back towards the entrance. So this procession kind of showed up walking in the direction that we're heading in, so we've just kind of become part of the procession ourselves right now. That is a toilet building. That is a pretty atmospheric toilet building. So we're back here at the gate. There is a very impressive looking structure here with the 4 words 天下大族, roughly means abundance for all the world. Okay, I believe next we are heading to kind of an old part of town where it's supposed to look scenic and all of that. So it says Changzhou, which is the name of the old town. I believe this gate has been refurbished, so not exactly original. Still looks pretty good. As it turns out, most of the buildings here are pretty much modern built, in the image of an ancient Song dynasty town, including model buildings of government offices, inns, and the like. And these are toys. Actually looks pretty good. Actually, pretty nice, pretty atmospheric. Also, surprisingly, kind of light on the traffic. I don't know if it's like not peak or something, or maybe it's just the weather. Yeah, it's nice and quiet. I think it's supposed to be like an authentic recreation of an inn that would be used in a traditional Chinese wedding. So this is supposed to be kind of a court of justice, and how it works is that, you know, the justice would be in here, and what you do is if you had like grievances and stuff, you would come and you would kind of hit the drums and shout out your grievances and injustices, and then they would presumably have some sort of a court proceeding. There are a lot of these kind of deserted looking stall areas, which makes me think that maybe in the weekends at night or something, you know, this will be a much more busy place. And over there is kind of a stage area where you could have like singing performances. Okay, so here we are. This is where we are staying at tonight. Pretty light itinerary today. We are going to be checking in first, and then in a bit we'll go back out for dinner, and that's it for today. Pretty nice view we have today. Later that evening, we found ourselves at what is, if our guide is to be believed, a fairly typical local eatery. Okay, impressions of Chongqing food so far. The taste is all pretty good, all good enough, except that it's really quite oily, even by our standards. And B, there's this numbing pepper that they use a lot here called huajiao, which is benign enough until you actually accidentally bite into one, and then you basically just lose half your tongue. You just go numb. That is not very pleasant. Well, buckle up, bucko, because there's going to be a lot more of that for the rest of this trip. Anyhow, it's been a good day one for our tour of Chongqing. And as we settled in to sleep here near the westernmost edge of the municipality, we could only imagine the diversity, the things we would see and experience in the coming days. Don't forget to subscribe so that you too can come along.